Everyone, this is Charles with Exodus Logistics. Just mentioned to you the Dispatcher 101 training for beginners. If you are someone who is interested in learning about the freight dispatching business, independent freight dispatching business, you want to learn how to work from home, be your own boss, set your own hours, have the freedom and time for yourself, and be independent, then this could possibly be a choice for you. The Dispatcher 101 training for beginners platform shows you how to find carriers, resources used to find the carriers, the scripts to use to get them under an agreement. There are other sources to use as well to find your carriers. You can go to the truck stops, you can call the carriers, cold call, emails, text, things like that. Our live operational trainings show you how to what to say to carriers when you're on the phone with them, certain types of scripts to use, or just general conversations to get them to understand that a dispatcher service could be beneficial for them and their business. These are owner operators that you will be speaking to. So but the whole idea of being an independent dispatcher is there's a certain workflow that's followed. First, you have to, of course, get the carrier under agreement so you can dispatch for them. Without the carrier, there is no business for you. There is no agreement, then you can't find loads for them, you can't make money. So the first things first is to get the carrier under agreement. Dispatcher 101 shows you how to do that. We have tools and resources in our back office on the website at www.exodusdispatchingandtraining.com. After you've gotten the carrier under dispatcher agreement, in addition to the dispatch agreement, by the way, I should also mention that we have a sort of a profile sheet for them as well, where they tell you how they want to run and what they want to make and where they would rather travel to and not travel to, and whatever the radius of that is. So they give you a kind of a detailed description of how they want to run and things like that, how much money they want to make. So when you go search your loads for them, you can cater your load search to their specific requirements. So that's number two. So you get the carrier under agreement, then you go out and find the loads. We show you how to do that either through the network that we've created, or through if you have access to a load board, you can search that way. If you have relationships with brokers and shippers, you can also do it that way. After you find a load for the carrier, of course you want to have somewhat of a cheat sheet as well when you call and speak to the brokers to try to book a load. Booking a load meaning that you call the broker and then you verify that the load is still available. If the load is still available, then you speak to the broker saying that you have a carrier that is interested in the load. You confirm with the broker or shipper the rate of the load, what are the pickup and delivery dates and times, what is the commodity that's being hauled, or what's the freight that's on the load, what's the price of the load, and any other dimensions, if it's over width or over length, any other special requirements, appointed delivery times, any other special types of instructions. Because when you go back to your carrier, this information is very useful for them, so they can determine if they are able to handle that load, because they may be under a load now, they may be empty, you never know. But when you're speaking to your carrier prior to calling the broker or shipper to book this load that you currently have for them, you want to make sure that you answer those preliminary questions for your carrier, because carriers are going to ask some of the similar questions. You know, when's it pick up, when does it deliver, what are the other special requirements. Depending on the equipment type, there could be additional questions that the carrier will ask you. For example, if this is a flatbed load that your carrier is trying to, or you're trying to book for your carrier, Then there may be some other types of question. Is the load needs to be tarped, or is there a requirement for chains and binders, any type of wooden dunnage or whatever type of dunnage, any other specifics like that, PPE, like protective equipment, so things like that. So depending on the equipment type of what your carrier hauls, whether be it dry van, flatbed, or reefer. For example, for reefer, in addition to the basic cheat sheet questions that you'll ask to the broker, or the common ones with a reefer specifically, of course you want to know what the pre-cool temperature is, because by the time your reefer carrier gets to the shipper, they want to have their reefer unit pre-cooled, so when they load the truck, it's already set for that. So that's explained and taught as well from a basic perspective. Dispatcher 101 teaches that from a basic, very basic perspective, giving you terms and defining terms for you so that you can better understand some of the very commonalities in the business, broken down for you to layman's terms so everyone gets it. After the load is booked, well, before you booking the load, there's a whole process involved. There's a workflow with that, getting the information for the broker for your carrier, MC number, things like that, so the broker can check and see if your carrier is in their system, if and whether or not they're in the system. Depending if they are or not, then there may be a carrier packet requirement to be filled out. Otherwise, then there will be a rate confirmation, and it's pretty standard. Booking a load is pretty standard. There's common things, carrier packets and rate confirmations. We explain what those are, go over in grave detail so you can get it. Very basic, and these are common things that are used in booking a load. The only thing that changes are the carriers that you have and the different brokers and shippers, but the in-between process is very much the same. It's the same process. They'll ask you for your MC number for your carrier, and they'll check it against their system to see if they're in the system or if they are not in the system. If they are not, then you do the carrier packet. You submit other documents. So when you sign your carrier up to a dispatch agreement and you have their load source profile, I particularly also instruct my students to get at least 3 other documents, if not a 4th, and have that on file for each carrier. So when you book loads, you don't have to keep calling the carrier asking for those forms all the time. And those forms are a copy of their MC authority letter, a copy of their W-9, and a copy of the certificate of insurance. In addition to that, we teach that if your carrier has what's called a factoring company, then they may also require an NOA form, which is the notice of assignment. This is telling the factoring company is running a credit on the broker or shipper just to make sure that they pay on time and are in good standing. So 3 forms, maybe a 4th, depending on if your carrier has a factoring company. In addition to, of course, you having a dispatcher agreement and profile for your carriers. What I do, I instruct or advise my students to create like file folders in their systems for each carrier, and then subfolders for each broker or shippers for those carriers that they deal with. And in the file folders for the carrier, you put a copy of those files, those extra files that you need when you book loads, because you're going to eventually attach those to emails and send them to different brokerages or shippers as you book loads over and over again. So kind of an organized system. Also too, it's important to communicate in the process. Once your carrier books the load, all the information is submitted from for the broker to their compliance team, and it gets approved by the broker. The broker, of course, will send you a rate confirmation. They usually ask for the driver's first and last name, their cell phone number, and sometimes a truck and trailer number. So this is a pretty common practice. It happens over and over again. So as you book more and more loads, you'll begin to see that this is a commonality, and you'll be able to streamline and make your system a little bit more effective. The purpose of Dispatcher 101 training for beginners is to begin the process of showing you how that's done from a very basic perspective. So if there's anyone who is interested in wanting to be an independent freight dispatcher, go to www.exodusdispatchingandtraining.com, and you will click the training page link and then click to enroll into the platform and go from there. You will be able to have access to 3 ebooks for free that helps you in your studies. Also, you'll get free consultation and access to the tools and resources that are in the back office, namely the Dispatching 101 ebook explained, workflow, carrier searches, load boards, and forms and documents. Forms and documents will show you sample copies of what those forms are, sample copies of what an MC authority looks like, so you will know, and from a basic perspective, a sample copy of a certificate of insurance, as well as a W-9 and an NOA form. In addition, I do have sample copies of cheat sheets, the type of questions that carriers will usually ask you, to verify with the brokers before they consider booking the load. When does it pick up? When does it deliver? What are special instructions? What's the commodity? Any other requirements and things like that? Any appointed times, stuff like that. So very, very basic things. And this is Dispatcher 101 for training for beginners. So again, if you have a need to learn it from a very basic perspective, have the simple questions answered, and then grow from there, establish a very solid foundation in the trucking, independent freight dispatching industry, try Exodus Logistics Dispatcher 101 training for beginners at www.exodusdispatchingandtraining.com. You click the training page link at the top of the page, click the enroll into the training, Dispatcher 101 training. There are videos in there to watch as well to give you a better understanding and idea of who we are and what we do before you make a decision. You can go and look at those videos, and then to give you more detailed and in-depth information about the platform. The price of the platform is $299.99. That's a one-time payment. Once you pay that, you are in it for life, for as long as you feel you need a basic level or overview understanding of the platform. Even if you consider leaving the platform, you still have access, because this is a very basic. So if you feel that you are beyond the basic standpoint and you want to go ahead and venture out, you're more than welcome to. But once you pay the one-time payment, you are in it for as long as you like to be. Again, you get the 3 ebooks, which is a $95 value, so they kind of decrease that overall price from $299.99 a little bit lower. So Dispatcher 101 training for beginners. Also, every Tuesday evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we also have live operational interactive training where we go over concepts and pointers about independent freight dispatching, ask questions, have mock trainings, phone calls, all types of information, any questions that need to be answered from a basics perspective, so everyone can ask. That is the time to ask during that time. Live phone calls, interactive training every Tuesday night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we cover over and over again the very basics of the platform. Everything that's in the back office is reviewed from a beginner's level, and it's rehashed over and over again, so we can get it down to a science, so everyone will have it, so there won't be any basic level questions. So as you learn to work the process of dispatching, whether it's getting a carrier under agreement, to finding a load for the carrier, to booking the load and invoicing the carrier, and then repeating that process. So again, enroll in Dispatcher 101 training for beginners, www.exodusdispatchingandtraining.com. Click the training page link at the top, and then click to enroll into the training platform. Thank you.